What's going on, everybody? This is Marcus. Before I get started, I want to thank you guys so much for your support. It really means a lot to me, and I love you guys so much. So thank you for everything. For those who are new to my channel, and for those who are seeing it for the first time, make sure you like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, and make sure you hit that bell to enable notifications whenever I drop a video. And we're going to always keep this thing rolling. So, let's talk about Thor Love and Thunder. So, this is going to be a spoiler review because I saw the movie last night and it was incredible. Definitely thundericious, if I have to say so myself. Definitely made that word up myself, thunderlicious. So, but yeah, it was definitely thunderous for sure. So, it was incredible. So, it's definitely worth the 2 hours and 5 minutes. So, if I have to give a ranking for Thor Love and Thunder, it's definitely a 10 out of 10 for sure. So it's definitely worth to see for sure. So for those who haven't seen it just yet, make sure you guys check it out. You won't be disappointed, especially if you're a hardcore Marvel fan like I am. It's definitely worth seeing for sure. So, but as a matter of fact, speaking of rankings, according to RottenTomatoes.com, and I'm going to it right now, they actually gave their ranking already. As a matter of fact, they've already ranked it before the movie actually came out. So, but this is what they have so far. So, according to the tomato meter, they ranked it 68%, while the audience score is at 82%. So, usually, most of the times, the audience score normally outweighs the tomato meter itself. And so, because you also have people who give their opinions about what the section movies are like and what they want to see what the movies is like as well, which is the reason why Rotten Tomatoes is actually there, basically just to give their opinions about what the rankings of the movies are. But like I said, anyone who is a hardcore Marvel fan like I am, you'll definitely enjoy Thor Love and Thunder, that's for sure. So, like I said, definitely worth the 2 hours and 5 minutes. Best Marvel movie, and like I said, I've seen all the Marvel movies, and it's definitely incredible. Every Marvel movie, Marvel animation films, animated series, is definitely worth it for sure. And they actually took elements from the comics and placed it into Thor Love and Thunder as well. And so one thing I can definitely give a great thumbs up for Kevin Feige is that most of the times, especially the movies that he actually does, he'll take elements and characters from the comics and put them into the MCU, and they're always golden for sure. So it's definitely the best. So, but yeah, basically how the film actually starts kicks off with the infamous Marvel Studios intro. You have the electric guitar intro. You hear the electric riff of the Marvel Studios theme. You actually hear that. And then after it cuts to the Marvel Studios theme and the logo, you actually see Gorr on the desolated planet. So we see Gorr holding his daughter Love. Love was dying, and Gorr was actually praying to the gods to spare his planet and his daughter at the same time. So the god he was actually praying to was Rapu, and so he actually went to Rapu's forest and found the god and asked him to spare his daughter and to bring her back and to spare his planet as well. But the god actually refused. And so underneath Rapu's village, there's a necro sword. And I'll get to the necro sword as far as like its meaning and the whole differences between the MCU and the comics. I'll get to that in a second. But basically, Gorr picked up necro sword. He picked up all black the necro sword is what it's called. He picked up the necro sword and he uses it to kill Rapu. And he made a vow that he was going to kill all the gods. So going back to the necro sword, it's actually called All Black the Necro Sword. So basically, this particular sword kills all the gods, and it was the sword that was forged through the symbiosis process as well. And so Gorr actually went in the battle in the comics to go up against Null, the god of the symbiotes. He kills Null and actually kept Necrosword. And again, Gorr is actually one of the most volatile villains in the comics as well. And so considering the fact that the symbiotes term is now currently owned by Sony, of course, because of Venom and everything, they really can't bring the symbiotes into the MCU, at least for now anyway. So until they work out a deal to where Sony and Disney and Marvel Studios work out a deal to where they could actually bring in symbiotes into the MCU, that's pretty much where it's going to be for right now. So basically, Necro's sword, which is basically forged in that particular environment in the MCU. And so anyway, Gorr goes on the killing spree. We see Thor. He was parting ways with the Guardians of the Galaxy. And so basically what was going on, Thor was doing this thing. It was actually pretty cool. He went from, we actually heard Korg, as a matter of fact. Korg was telling the story of Thor Odinson, how he basically grew up from childhood to manhood, being the Prince of Asgard, the King of Asgard now, all the events that took place from the first Thor movie to the Dark World to Thor Ragnarok, and even up to this point, even till Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, how he basically killed Thanos, chopped off his head, and then he went towards a downward spiral after when he lost Odin, he lost his brother Loki, and then losing his kingdom of Asgard and everything else. So, and then on top of that, he's gained a lot of weight. So he actually went from having a dad bod to god bod, according to Corey. So that was actually pretty funny. So he was basically doing CrossFit techniques to get back into shape, and that's what happened. And so he was teaming up with the Guardians. They've actually teamed up ever since Avengers Endgame, and so they parted ways from New Asgard since then. And so anyway, they actually received a distress call from Lady Sif from Asgard. Sif actually confronted Gorr, was beaten to a pulp. And so upon arrival, a beaten Sif actually warns Thor that Gorr the God Butcher was on his way to New Asgard, and he made a vow to kill all the gods. And so we actually did see in this particular shot where it was Thundergard who was killed as well. He was supposed to be one of the nicest guys too, according to Thor. So we actually do see that particular shot, as I mentioned before, from Thor issue 14, where it was Thor and Korr standing on top of the White Mountain, and they saw Thundergard being slain by Gorr. And so anyway, they're on New Asgard. We just found out, and this is actually pretty cool because that was actually brilliant on Kevin's part. I was wondering how, and I was telling this to Alan and one of my friends, I was telling them that I'm actually glad they actually kept that story, because I was wondering how they were going to do this, because Jane Foster actually does pick up Mjolnir and becomes Lady Thor, and that was actually pretty cool. And that was one of my first thoughts when I first saw the trailer for Thor Love and Thunder, how they were going to actually incorporate the story on how Jane actually has the power of Thor and the reasons behind it. And so we found out, as we know in the comics, that Jane Foster had terminal cancer, stage 4 terminal cancer. And so she picks up Mjolnir. It was like the broken, shattered pieces of Mjolnir, which was shattered apart, picked up the hammer, and then forged together, and she becomes Lady Thor. And we see a reunion between Jane and Thor, which is actually pretty cool. And so they haven't seen each other in a long time, especially not since the events of Thor Dark World, I want to add. And so, yeah, and since then, Jane's been busy trying to come up with like a cure for her illness and everything. And so that's pretty much it. And so basically she was seeking medical treatment in hopes of trying to combat her disease. Thor's destroyed hammer Mjolnir reforges, and then it bonds itself to Foster after years earlier. So basically you see like the flashback between Thor and Jane, how basically they grew apart, basically how they were basically having fun, and then they grew apart over time because of their busy schedules and whatnot. And so then we see that Thor arrives in New Asgard. And so just as they arrive in New Asgard, Gorr starts attacking the town, and we also see some of the shadow creatures that were there too. So the shadow creatures came from the shadow realm. So we see them attacking the children and people that are there. And so upon seeing Foster, he's actually surprised that Foster's in Thor's Asgardian armor, which is pretty cool. So it's definitely depicted what she looks like in the comics as well. And so basically, Valkyrie and Korg, they actually fought Gorr, of course. The group thwarts Korg, but he actually escapes. He kidnaps the Asgardian children. So the group then travels to Omnipotent City. This is the good part right here. So we basically get the chance to see all the gods in place. So they actually went to Omnipotent City to ask the gods for help because Gorr is on a rampage of killing all the gods. And so they actually came across the Olympian god Zeus, which was actually pretty cool. You can see Russell Crowe in his performance as well. I thought he did a really good job as well. And so basically what happens, we see Zeus performing his routine and everything. He's basically more of a showboat and everything. And so Thor and his friends, they were actually in disguise and they were sitting in the audience while Zeus was performing in front of the crowd. And so Zeus basically got a chance to talk to Thor. Thor came in front of Zeus, pleading for his help to please help us because Gorr, the god butcher, is killing the gods and only you can help. So the only source of power is your thunderbolt. And so Zeus knows that Thor has good intentions, and in some ways he kind of like backed down for a bit because he knows that Gorr can actually kill the gods with All Black, the Necro Sword. And so what happens is Zeus attacks Thor and his friends, impales and injures Korg. Basically after that, Thor impales Zeus with his thunderbolt, seemingly killed him, or so we thought. So anyway, they escape Omnipotent City without the help of Zeus. They then travel to the Shadow Realm to rescue the children. However, this turned out to be a ruse for Gorr because Gorr's initial plan was to take Stormbreaker. And basically, with Stormbreaker in Gorr's hands, he was going to open the portal to eternity. We marked out when we heard that because basically we saw like different omnipotent beings from the Marvel Universe so far, especially if you've seen the Eternals, or we actually get the chance to see the Celestials, especially Arishem the Celestial. And so now we're seeing more gods showing up as well. And I'll get to more gods momentarily. But basically his goal is to open the portal to eternity. And eternity is one of the cosmic beings in the Marvel Universe as well. And so Valkyrie was badly injured, and Foster ends the battle by draining the usage of Mjolnir. And so basically she uses one more energy to hasten her death from cancer. So anyway, Thor decides to go alone after when Jane Foster is laying in the bed to try to recover from her cancer treatment. And so basically Thor, imbuing the kidnapped Asgardian children, he actually went back into the realm of Gorr, and the children were there as well. And so he basically was giving a motivational speech to the children that they basically come from New Asgard. And so basically, considering the fact that there are Asgardians now, new Asgardians, they can be forced to battle. And so Thor actually embodies the children with his own power, and they put their own weapons and they go into battle against Gorr and the shadow creatures. And so, as a matter of fact, considering that Gorr fought Thor, Thor was beaten down, and it seemed as though Gorr was going to win. However, we see Jane Foster returning to battle and rejoins Thor. And so she ends up fighting Gorr and destroying the Necro Sword. So amid defeat, Thor convinces Gorr that all he wanted from eternity was not to destroy the gods, but to get his daughter back. So that was the whole ordeal. Like, his old plan, even though he said it out of anger, but his whole plan was to get his daughter back. And it's a very sad story if you think about it too, because it's basically how it was in the comics, that basically Gorr lost his family and his daughter Love, for sure. And so upon meeting eternity, Thor, Gorr, and Jane in the same portal as Gorr, they opened up the portal to eternity. And so we pretty much see that Foster succumbed to her illness of cancer and dies in Thor's arms. So I basically had the feels. It was a very sad moment because I really felt bad for Jane too. So, but then eternity actually allows Gorr's request to revive Love. And so Love is actually revived. And then Thor actually saw Love, and Gorr actually told Thor for his request to take care of his daughter Love. And then he dies from the effects of the Necro Sword, unfortunately. So anyway, the children return to New Asgard, where we see Valkyrie and Sif training. They're actually training the children in New Asgard, Meanwhile, Thor, now in the possession of Mjolnir again, continues to go on his adventures to help people with love by his side, now wielding Stormbreaker by his side. So we basically see the two powerful hammers in Thor and basically Mjolnir and Stormbreaker. Was actually pretty cool. And so then we see a mid-credit scene where Zeus actually survived his thunderbolt impalement. And so when he survived that, he was telling his son Hercules to go kill Thor. And Hercules responded by saying, "Yes, father." Marked out because I knew Hercules was going to show up. So that was actually pretty cool. And then there's also a second credit scene as well. Foster arrives at Valhalla where Heimdall welcomes her. And so, of course, according to what Thor told Lady Sif when she lost her arm, that the only way for a warrior to get into Valhalla is where he or she has to die in battle. So, and considering that Sif survived, she hasn't entered the Valhalla. So, and I wanted to point that out too, because that's basically in mythology myth as well, that for a warrior to enter the Valhalla, he or she must die in battle. So, but other than that, that was pretty much it. The movie was fantastic. Thor definitely overcame his midlife crisis from Infinity War and Endgame, and basically just got back into the swing of things. We see the old Thor again, and basically we see heroes coming aboard, and I definitely can't wait to see Hercules too. As a matter of fact, I got the issue right here of Hercules' first appearance, which is actually back in October 1965. And there it is right here. We actually see Thor and Hercules fighting each other. In their first appearance, they actually fought each other, but eventually they become best friends, close to brothers actually. So they will eventually become like brothers in arms, and Hercules will join the Avengers eventually as well. And so, like, funny that my friend Alan and most of my friends, like Alan was telling me that everybody joins the Avengers basically in the comics, because it's basically just an open club of anybody who wants to join. Even Spider-Man joins the Avengers as well. So, but besides the point, Hercules is the son of Zeus. His powers is definitely, like, compared to his mythological character, definitely the same thing as well. Super strength, durability. He can jump very high as well, to the point where it's like he's always flying. And so he's also a ladies' man as well. So he's definitely he's basically, I said this last night, Hercules is basically Fred Flintstone on steroids, basically. Or basically, I'll put it like this: if Fred Flintstone was a bodybuilder, that's what Hercules would look like, basically. So, but yeah, other than that, it was definitely great though. So, and like I said, it's a 10 out of 10 for me, and definitely one of the best films so far. And I know they're gonna keep cranking the Thor movies for a long time. I don't see Chris Hemsworth leaving Marvel anytime soon anyway, because since 2011, he's been doing a fantastic job as Thor. As a matter of fact, like, I've always pictured him playing Thor anyway. So I mean, he's got the look, the charisma, and everything down to a T. And so, and like I said, most of the actors, including Chris, are Marvel fans too. So it's pretty cool. Also, I wanted to point out too, especially with particular Easter eggs and what I pointed out when we were talking about the trailer, we actually do see Loki's tattoo on the back when Zeus was interrogating him after when he flicked his clothes off. And so we actually see R.I.P. Loki in the back, and then that was practically hilarious on that part. So we know he's still feeling the effects of Loki's death for sure. But what he doesn't know is that his other counterpart, that Loki's counterpart, is still alive in the timeline, especially with the TVA. So I'm thinking whenever Secret Wars comes about, it'll be really cool if we actually do see Thor and Loki reunite, because technically Loki survived. Even though if you've seen the events of Avengers Endgame where they go back in time to retrieve the Tesseract and they handcuffed Loki, and Loki was being taken towards prison anyway. He was actually going back to S.H.I.E.L.D. up until they actually dropped the Tesseract and Loki disappeared and went to the portal, where we actually see the events of Loki Season 1 taking place, which is on Disney+. And as I mentioned before, Loki Season 2 is actually in filming right now, so we'll definitely get an announcement of when Loki Season 2 is going to actually be released. And then of course, going back to the gods that actually showed up, you notice that when Jane Foster was holding up Mjolnir to powering up the hammer, we actually see the Living Tribunal. We see Mistress Death. We see the Watcher. And we've seen all those gods in the background, the statues, which is actually pretty cool. And not to mention Eternity, that's pretty cool too. And so, like I said, they're basically bringing in the cosmic beings now. And so, the only cosmic being that we haven't seen just yet, which I'm sure we will see in Fantastic Four, we will definitely see Galactus in full form too. And man, that's going to be so epic. Because if we know what the gods actually look like, especially with when we saw Erisham, it's going to be crazy to know what Galactus' design is going to look like. So I'm definitely excited to see that. So my opinion, I think the future of Marvel is in great hands. They're doing a really great job with the movies, especially telling the character stories, the background stories, and the history. They're doing a really good job with that too. So I'm definitely excited for the future of Marvel Studios and the future of Marvel in particular. So, yeah, and I definitely can't wait to see Hercules not only fight Thor in the next movie, but to team up as well. So I'm definitely curious to see who is going to be the next villain. As a matter of fact, before I wrap this up, let's look at the list of Thor villains so far. So I'm going to look at Thor's World Gallery and come up with some ideas as to who can pretty much show up in the next Thor movie. So let's check this out real quickly. ComicVines.com usually have a good variety of road galleries. So what we can do here is see. Oh, okay, let's check it out. So basically, and don't quote me on this, but if we see the Wrecking Crew, that would be pretty cool too. Now, it's been rumored that the Wrecking Crew is supposed to show up in She-Hulk Attorney at Law. But it'll be cool if they actually do show up in Thor 5 as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if we get a chance to see Blood Axe. Blood Axe will be pretty good as well. So basically, the background of Blood Axe is, and I'm going to go and pull this up real quick. Basically, he's known as Jackie Laukas. His first appearance is in Thor issue 392. And Jackie Laukas' first appearance is in Thor issue 392. And his first appearance as Blood Axe is in Thor issue 450. So basically, he meets Eric Masterson, who basically is the second person to become Thor in the comics. Basically, he was a New York architect like Eric. Basically, he leaves. Basically, after winning the power of Thor, he actually teams up with Scourge's Executioner. We did see Scourge, of course. Scourge actually does appear in Ragnarok. So basically holding the Asgardian weapon Mjolnir, and then driven to become the vigilante known as Blood Axe, a female actually. So she picked up the axe. Laukas was transformed physically and overwhelmed mentally by the weapon's desire for combat and thirst for blood. So yeah, so it'd be pretty cool if we do actually see Blood Axe. Let's check this out. Oh, Cobra would be pretty good too. And we did see Destroyer in the first Thor movie, so Destroyer's a good one. We saw Ego the Living Planet in the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. We already saw Executioner. Now, this would be pretty cool. Grey Gargoyle. Grey Gargoyle is actually one of my favorite villains as well. And he's definitely a cool villain for sure because he actually turns every object into stone. And so you've seen Iron Man, the animated series. He's actually one of the main antagonists in the animated series for sure. So his real name is Paul Duval. He was a young chemist from France whose experiment went awry after he noticed the solution he was working on turned blue instead of red. A strange foreign substance had affected the mixture, and Duval accidentally spilled the potion on his right hand. The chemical felt like liquid fire as it started to transform his hand into stone. And so Duval's left hand turned into stone after he touched his right hand. Duval accidentally touched his face and realized he's become a man of living stone. So that's basically how the Grey Gargoyle is born. And so basically, yeah, Grey Gargoyle will be pretty cool as well. We already saw Hela. We saw, who else did we do? We didn't see Carnilla. Carnilla would be pretty cool. Yeah, we already saw Curse. Curse was actually in the Dark World. Laufey, we saw him as well. Of course, Loki. Lorelai, I don't think I've seen Lorelai in the MCU yet, but she's definitely in the comics as well. Yep, and Malekith was in the Dark World as well. The Man Beast would be pretty cool. Mangog would be awesome. Mr. Hyde, Midgard Serpent, Moon Goose. Moon Goose would be pretty cool too. So again, the Wrecking Crew or Moon Goose will definitely be good villains to add for Thor 5. And of course, as I said before, the Wrecking Crew has been rumored to appear in She-Hulk Eternia Law. So Moon Goose would be pretty awesome. So, but yeah, there's like so many villains in Thor as well, so they can practically use anyone for Thor 5. So it'll definitely be pretty awesome as well. So, but again, I'm actually glad that the movie did a really great job. I'm not for sure how much it's doing in the box office right now. Let me check this out real quick before we wrap this up. Thor, look at this up in the box office. So let's see. Don't know if they give out the projected. Okay. I'm not sure they got the projected annual just yet. Okay, so opening weekend it hammered 135 to 145 million dollars. It's not bad. It's definitely not on par with Top Gun Maverick, which is in the $1 billion mark right now. So it's definitely a good movie to go see as well. I gotta check it out because I haven't had a chance to check out Top Gun Maverick yet. I am going to watch it, so because I heard it was really fantastic, and I love aircrafts too, so it's definitely pretty cool as well. But yeah, as the numbers increase, we'll know how much money Thor is going to make over the weekend as well. So, and again, this is opening weekend, so we have plenty of time to deal with that though. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you guys haven't seen Thor Love and Thunder yet, let me know in the comments down below. Definitely let me know if you guys have seen it or have not seen it. If you guys have any questions, comment down below. I'll answer every you guys' questions and get to the comments. So just answer everything. I'm an open book. So just let me know what you guys think if you have any questions. So yeah, next video I'm going to do an Easter egg breakdown for Thor Love and Thunder, and then we'll talk about everything else that way. And then of course we'll just talk about Miss Marvel season finale and everything like that. So we'll definitely do that. So, but I love you guys so much. Thank you for your support. I love you guys dearly. Thank you for everything. You guys rock. You guys are amazing. I love you guys. Keep staying positive. Always make an impact in the world. Keep being a light no matter what. And I love you guys so much. I'll catch you guys in the next one.